Once again, like and subscribe before we move on to our next topic that we have right now to be notified of content that we have coming your way, future content that is. Now, I do want to stay in basketball here. I want us to give our final thoughts on the Kyrie Irving trade to the Mavericks. Is this a good deal for the Nets or the Mavericks? Either one. Is it really a good deal? Because we talked about it earlier on today's show. You can check that video out as soon as this video finish. You can check it out and tap in and see what we talked about earlier. And we basically debated who won the deal. But the question is it really a good deal on either side when you think about it from all the risk and all the rewards? And Zay, I'll pass it to you to start us off.
I think the Mavericks throughout their entire franchise history are not afraid of trading futures. They're not afraid of trading future
Salute to
picks.
my dude Mike too, by the way.
I think shout out to NFL Mikes as well.
Yep, shout out to my guy.
I think when we look at the Mavericks history, they got KP, they traded futures to the Knicks for Kristaps Porzingis. They got a bevy of guys with them, Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, Trey Burks. We look at now with this trade with Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris going for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, the 2029 first round pick, a 2029 second round pick, and a 2027 second round pick. I think for the Nets is not a good trade because you're getting back a player you didn't want to pay in that offseason when you traded him away, when you got rid of him essentially. And then I think they let him walk in free agency and they got paid in Washington. You bring back Dorian Finney-Smith, who is a solid role player defender, but you already have too many wing players on that basketball team, and you can't fit everybody. And unfortunately, it's not going to work with this roster that you currently have. And I think when you look at the Nets, they just made bad deal after bad deal, and allowing this team to just falter with first signing Steve Nash to coach KD and Kyrie Irving. And then later on, James Harden. You need a veteran coach, a guy who knows how to handle players, not a rookie coach, not a guy who just became their first job. I think, they set the job up for failure off the rip. Now, going to the Mavericks side, you pair a guy, a star player, a guy who's won a championship, a guy who's played with stars before, and Kyrie Irving. And you bring in Markieff Morris as well, a wing player that the Mavericks desperately need because they don't really have that many forwards. It works out for them because you're bringing in a guy who could score at a very high clip, a guy who averages 25 a game with Luka Doncic. First time in his career, he had a guy who was cooking everybody else privy to arriving there. He's not a young player. He's a vet. He's a guy who's been cooking for years, and he knows how to play with guys like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, ball dominant players. That's something that you take into consideration when you pair up Luka and Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving knows how to play second fiddle to a dominant player, but also knows when it's time to be aggressive and attack. You pair them up with a Christian Wood. You have other guys on that basketball court that could really dominate the game, and like Tim Hardaway Jr. And you got the forwards, Bertans, and these other dudes. It works out for the Mavericks because it works out for what they want. Offense heavy. We're going to score a lot of points, and we're going to make sure that we limit what they do. Jason Kidd coaching Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic is probably one of the greatest backcourts we've ever seen, because that's going to be one of the most highlighted things that Jason Kidd's going to do in his entire career. And I think that's something that we need to talk about more. And I think personally that the deal only works good for the Mavericks and not the Nets. I know the Nets wanted to recoup assets that they traded away in that Houston Rockets trade for James Harden, but it's not enough, and it doesn't keep KD happy for the foreseeable future. I can see a situation where KD axes out by next season, by this off season, because I think it's probably too late to facilitate to move KD with only 3 days left in the trade deadline.
Before I respond to that, I do want to shout out my guy NFL Mike. It's crazy because Zay, you can attest to it. I literally just shared this video in the chat when he was talking about Tom Brady, just to spread the word, and definitely check him out on Instagram. Listen, that was a good video. Yo, I'm a Tom Brady fan. You know how I feel about that. So feel free to come on the show, 99 Pod, when you get a chance, right? The next episode, possibly, we'll make it do what it do. But look, to pick up where they left off, I do want to focus on the face-off between Joe Tsai and Kyrie Irving. I want to talk about that dynamic right now because clearly it was a face-off. These two guys have not seen eye to eye for the last couple years. We all know Kyrie Irving and his stance against the COVID-19 shot and how Joe Tsai just didn't understand Kyrie Irving. Joe Tsai never really understood the complexity of an individual Kyrie Irving is. Kyrie Irving is not a normal, regular individual. And I don't say that with any intent of disrespect. He's a free thinker. He thinks outside the box. He's kind of my type of guy, to be honest with you. Like, I like guys who think outside the box, even if I don't agree with every single thing. I agree with the freedom to think, because it seems like thinking is not a freedom anymore in today's era or in today's society, right? So Joe Tsai doesn't understand Kyrie Irving. They really haven't got to sit at the table and hash everything out from a perspective where they meet halfway together. And that was clear when it came to the contract and what Kyrie Irving wanted and what he wanted to give Kyrie Irving and the championship clauses that was in the contract that they initially offered to Kyrie Irving. A whole bunch of rubbish and, just face off, right? And I think for me, Joe Tsai, he just made a terrible move. Anybody that's saying that he won the face off because he traded Kyrie Irving to where he did not want to go is a daggone fool. Okay, you realize he's a free agent? Do you realize he's a free agent? Okay, so y'all saying, all right, he didn't trade him to LA because Joe Tsai said that he wanted to trade him anywhere but LA. He didn't want to give him his wish. You do realize that he can still end up in LA come June. You realize that, right? Because he's a free agent. So if he doesn't like the Mavericks and for whatever reason the chemistry is not formed with him and Luka, or he just wants to leave and play with LeBron James again, he's going to do just that. So you just cut off your face to spite your nose by trading him away from LA when they had the better package. Clearly they did. Like, their package was better. There was a couple teams that had better packages than the Dallas Mavericks. And you sent them there because you wanted to be spiteful, but you a fool because he's a free agent. He can end up anywhere he wants if that team wants him back, which LA clearly do, and where he wants to go in LA. This is what I'm talking about. And when you do a move like that, you done more harm to this franchise than KD did, than Kyrie Irving did, than James Harden did, and honestly combined. Because a move like that can set you back for years. Okay? I understand that you don't want to trade him there because you're spiteful. But I think for me, if you're going to trade anybody, if you're an owner and your star player come up to you and say, I want out, get me out, otherwise I'm not resigning here in the summertime. Your job as an owner is to find the best available package offered to you and take that deal, because you're thinking about the team and the future, because at the end of the day, you're still owning the team, right? You still got to see this team through. Your goal should be to win a championship or to have the necessary assets to help me build this thing back up to compete for a championship in the future. The only instance where I'm not taking the best deal is if I'm trading you within conference. So let's say he wanted to go to the Celtics, hypothetically. Then okay, I understand that because you got to play him. But this is the LA. We talking about the Western Conference. So yeah, there's a whole lot of dynamics in this face-off, and I think Joe Tsai lost it, to be honest with you.
Not only did Joe Tsai lose the trade, he lost his integrity. The man is becoming the next worst. He's forming this Nets franchise back into its horrible ways, its dysfunction that they have top to bottom, from front office to coaching staff. The best move they did was allow Jacques Vaughn to be the coach of the Nets. That's the best move they made. Other than that, it's been terrible. Move after terrible move after terrible move. You leverage your entire future for James Harden to then trade him away for Ben Simmons and Seth Curry. And it's not looking good. It's not looking like and on top of that, you traded him within your division. You trade him away within your division and made the division better. I mean, the other team on the other side better, and then your team worse. And hoping and assuming that Ben Simmons will be this guy that he's clearly not anymore. And it's just so baffling that you think he would get better. He would know better to make better moves, and he's only getting worse and worse. All the star players don't want to play here. At first they had a culture, and it seemed like KD was he was planning here on purpose. I feel like KD wanted to destroy the culture on purpose, because the first thing he said was when he got to Brooklyn was, yeah, we like the culture here. I like the culture here in Brooklyn. It's a different vibe, and I want to be a part of it. I want to build upon it. He destroyed it the moment he touched on it. But the moment he got there, it was destroyed. And it only got worse and worse the more games he was on that team, on that roster. I think it's just time to cut ties completely. The Nets need to take all assets that they could possibly get for Kevin Durant and recoup and set up for the future, because your championship window is officially closed. is no longer open. You're no longer a contender or a championship contender with KD by himself in Brooklyn. It's time to recoup everything you possibly can. Get the most draft picks. Get the most young players. Shed any bad contracts that you can and start all over. Cam Thomas is a great starting point. Nicholas Claxton is an even better starting point. The guy is looking like he's getting at the top of his
dropped 40
class.
today again.
Another
Cam Thomas
47 against the Clippers. Crazy. So that's something that the Nets need to do immediately, because if they wait another 2 years or wait until KD's contract is up, you're just wasting time. And you're not going to be a top contender in the Eastern Conference the way everybody is playing right now. The Eastern Conference has more wins than the Western Conference right now, top to bottom, and it's not even looking close the way that the conferences are playing. So I think right now they need to, like I said, recoup your assets and try to get as many draft picks as you possibly can for Kevin Durant, and hope for the best for your future, because right now it's not looking bright.
I think for me, right, and I do want to pivot to the Mavericks side here, because I think for me, when you think about things from a big scale, the Mavericks are showing as a low market team, because you can classify them as a low market, even though it's Dallas, because you don't see free agents saying, I really want to go to Dallas, right? So you can classify them as a low market. They're basically showing that, yeah, we are low market, but we are trying. We are trying to make our superstar happy. And I think these low market teams in the NBA is getting an unfair shake. They try. I seen the Wizards try. I seen the Mavericks try. I seen the Trailblazers try. Now, maybe they failed, but they tried. And I think a lot of people, when we talk about superstar athletes, you need to leave. You need to go. Find you a new teammate. Find you a co-star. But we don't really acknowledge. We always throw shots at the low market teams and how they ran, but they try. At least the Mavericks are risking it all here. Think about it. They could lose Kyrie Irving in free agency. Christian Wood is on an expiring contract. He could walk, right? Jalen Brunson already walked. So you can have two guys that could walk. You already mortgage first and second rounders in this deal to get Kyrie Irving. You know how much risk you taking? It's a lot of risk. And for us to not, acknowledge that, that's why this move is impactful, because it should show the world that, yes, we are geographically at a disadvantage, especially in a sport like the NBA. But at least we are trying. We are willing to experiment. Two ball-dominant guards. But we are willing to experiment and see how things play out, because we are trying to keep our superstar happy. We care about winning. Whereas you look at the Lakers, who have a 2027, first round pick and future assets that they're not willing to spend, and they are a big market team.